Today I have a very special video for you guys. I'm really excited for this one. I've teamed up with some of the biggest names in the drone industry and some of my favorite creators out there to ask them a very important question. And that question is, what's the best drone you've ever flown? It's a very tricky question, as the best drone doesn't necessarily translate into the one with the best features or the one that has been the most expensive, but rather the one that has left you with the most long-lasting impressions into your mind. And we have quite a few very interesting replies to these questions from some of my favorite creators. So without any further ado, let's see what they had to say.
Thanks, Mike, for having me on this video just to talk about my favorite drone. And I think it's no brainer. We have some of the best drones on the market right now, of course, like the Mini 3 Pro and this one here, the Mavic 3. So which one is my favorite of all time? Definitely is going to be the Mavic 2 Pro. Now the Mavic 2 Pro came out in 2018, and I think this drone right here really benchmarked most of the drones, or pretty much all the drones after that release date. Now the main reason why this thing did change the game back in 2018 is because it does have a 1-inch sensor. It also has an adjustable aperture. And I know a lot of people now are talking about the DJI RC, but back then we did have the original smart controller, which came out with the DJI Mavic 2 Pro. So when it comes down to my favorite all-time drone, I'm gonna stick with this one right here, because I think, as you can see with all the new drones nowadays, everything is kind of spawned off of this setup right here, the DJI Mavic 2 Pro.
It was pretty difficult to choose what I would consider the best drone that I've ever had the opportunity to fly, but I kind of narrowed it down to two different ones. Now, when Mike first posed the question to me, I immediately thought of the drone that started it all for me, and that is the Mavic Pro. This was not only the drone that sparked a fire in me for the hobby, but for so many other people in the world. The stability of it, the design, the image quality at the time, and just everything about it made me want to go out and fly every chance that I had. Plus, this is the drone that started it all for me for YouTube as well. So I have a lot to be thankful for the Mavic Pro. Now, the second drone that I just have to mention, and I can't even really describe in words how adrenaline inducing it is to fly, but it's the M30T from DJI. Now, it's not meant for enjoyment at all, but it is incredibly fun to fly, and it's just so powerful. The zoom capabilities should be illegal. It's so good. The thermal resolution on it, and then just the countless ways that this drone can be used to perform tasks that would normally put people in harm's way. Drones are already changing the world in so many different ways, and technology like that exists in the M30T are advancing the industry faster than most people can imagine, even just a few years ago. Now, I know I'm probably going to be shunned for this from Mike's viewers, but I've never actually flown FPV at all, and I'm kind of worried that when I do, it's going to be the end for me. Like, I'm going to be addicted to it. So I do have a goal to give it a try before the end of 2022, and I'll see if it's as addictive as everyone, and maybe next year that'll be the best drone that I've ever flown. So thank you, Mike, for letting me be a part of this project. I can't wait to see what everyone else chooses as their favorite drone.
What's the best drone you ever flown and why? Thanks, Mike, for this question, and thanks for inviting me on your channel, bro. The first one is gonna be a stabilized drone, and for me is the Mavic 2 Pro. And the reason why is simply because I don't have the Mavic 3 and I flew the Mavic 2 Pro during so many years, so I can guarantee you that it's a beast. The image is just perfect. You can push the edit pretty far. For the photos, also, it's just crazy good. I took so many shots with it. No issues. I flew it in different scenarios, like winter, really cold temperature, really hot temperature during summer in Bali, for example. Everything was fine. Really great experience during all those years with the Mavic 2 Pro. It was just perfect. FPV drones, I can choose only one because there is different FPV drones for different use, but there is one that I'm using since the beginning, and let's talk about it first. It's this one. I built it myself. I have two of them right now. I can tell you that I never had any issues with it. It flies so good. Even after some crashes, carbon frame is just so high quality. I never broke something, a arm or anything. Maybe it's because I built it myself. I don't know. And here is the last one that I really love. Same, never had any issues. I have it since a few years now. It's a Shendrone Squirt V2. It's the same configuration as my 5-inch. That's it for me. It was John from DroneMood. Thanks again to my bro Mike for inviting me here. By the way, bro, I hope to see you soon. You know what I mean. And about you guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you soon Salut!
So for me, the best drone I think that I've ever flown has to be this slammed Shendrone Squirt. I actually bought all the parts separately and put this together. It's been really, really awesome and reliable, and I've just had so much fun flying this drone. So I've always admired FPV from all the mountain surfing shots that I've seen and car chasing shots, but they were always using 5-7-inch drones that don't have these prop guards on them. And I wasn't that desperate to get into FPV until I started to see the shots that people were getting from drones like this, a 3-inch Cinewhoop. So you might have actually been familiar with some of the viral videos that have gone out there using Cinewhoops, such as the bowling alley video, which I think everyone's seen, and that was using this drone carrying a full-size GoPro, and it was just fantastic to see how slowly and precisely they were able to fly from outside to indoors and get that amazing one-take shot. So using this drone, I've been able to fly through people's legs, fly through cars, fly through expensive property, and even fly around footballers on a football pitch, which was a really cool experience. And I just haven't had to worry about hitting people or damaging anything, which is fantastic. So there's lots of Cinewhoops out there in the market, but I actually really like this one in particular just because of the half ducts that it has and the fact that it's slammed, which means it's really, really small and compact. And that just allows it to fly better in windy conditions, because actually one of the biggest downsides of this drone is flying in windy conditions because the wind gets caught up inside the ducts. But having the ducts a lot smaller allows it to fly a little bit better in windy conditions. So yeah, that's my favorite drone ever that I've flown. Thanks for asking me, Mike, and keep smashing it on your channel.
What's going on, guys? Billy here, and asking me the question of what my favorite drone is has got to be one of the hardest questions for me to answer. It's almost like asking a father who their favorite son is or who their favorite child is. Right now, look, you might make fun of me for saying something like that. It probably sounds kind of lame, but really that's what it comes down to. I mean, I'm always flying my drones. I'm always testing new things out. I'm always going on trips and bringing my drones with me to fly them and capture photos. So I've made a lot of great memories with a lot of the drones I've flown over the years. And part of me wants to say my favorite drone is the Mini 3 because it's small and packs a really great punch inside of a tiny form factor. Part of me wants to say the Phantom 4 is my favorite drone because that was the first drone I ever flew. It's what made me fall in love with capturing aerial photos and aerial videos. I could also say the Mavic 3 is my favorite drone, or the Skydio is my favorite drone, because both of those are really fun to fly and they have their own unique set of characteristics. But when it comes down to it, I think that my favorite drone and the best drone for the money is DJI's Air 2S. And if you follow me over on my YouTube channel, you know that I preach about this drone and I preach about how much I like it. Not only because of what it costs, $999, and what you get for that cost, I mean, what comes packed inside of this drone for the money, but also it's the memories I've made with it. And I think that that's something important that was told to me when making this video is don't just go, or making my part for this video, don't go and choose the best drone, choose your favorite drone. And this is the drone that's come with me on so many great trips. This is the drone that has captured a lot of great photographs for work, both on construction sites and for real estate agents, for real estate photography, selling homes. So in my opinion, the best drone and my favorite drone is the Air 2S, bar none. Thank you to Drone Supremacy for having me here on his channel to discuss my favorite drone. Let's hear from the next person.
Hey guys, so what's my favorite drone? That's a tough question, but I feel like I've never been so sure about it. And you might be surprised about which drone I'm choosing today, and that's gonna be the DJI Mini 3. I'm so happy about this drone. I've been using it since the DJI released it on the market, and I'm gonna explain you why this is my #1 choice. I'm always hiking on a mountain, going chasing waterfalls or hiking volcanoes. So for me, the weight is one of the most important things. This drone weighs less than 250 grams, so that it's a huge plus, and it's able to capture cine-like content on that weight. It's amazing. Besides that, it also shoots vertical. Let's face it, nowadays everybody's on TikTok, Instagram, so being able to capture vertical and horizontal on a regular drone like this, it's amazing. This is why the Mini 3 is my #1 choice, and I've never been so happy about a drone before.
The best drone I've ever flown. If you would have asked me this like 3.5 years ago, I would have told you it was any one of my Mavic drones or any one of my DJI drones. But since flying FPV, things have gotten a little bit more complicated. So on the desk, I could not choose. I have two drones. I have my Shendrone Slam Squirt and I have my Mavic 3. And these are my best drones that I have ever flown in their respective categories. And I'm sorry, I can't choose. For FPV, the best I've ever flown is the Shendrone Squirt. It's absolutely amazing, and it allows me to get some of the most dynamic shots that I've ever been able to incorporate in a single video. And I think that's why I love this. It fits into tight gaps, it's small, it's easy to travel with, it's quiet, and I'm able to fly around people, for the most part, safely. And with the Hero 10 Bones, it works amazing. But more recently, I have absolutely fell in love with the Mavic 3, and I think that this is the best drone that I have ever flown as of right now. It does all the things I would want out of a bigger, larger cinema camera, but in a smaller, much more svelte, compact form. Camera does amazing in low light, video looks great, and photos look wonderful. I use this camera consistently every single day. Every single day, I use it. And, you know, since the recent updates, it's gotten so much better, and I'm honestly glad that I was able to stick it out and stick with this because it does so much right now. It didn't at first, but it does now. And because it does now, this is honestly the best drone on the market. And I think that this is the benchmark for future drone makers when they are designing their product. Mike, thanks so much for including me in this video. I'm sorry I'm late, lots of travel, been flying a lot of this stuff, so it's sometimes hard to get into the studio and film. All right, guys, stay original.
Hey, it's Sean here from Air Photography. Thank you, Mike, for asking me to be part of your video. So the question is, what is my favorite drone? And that's really a tough question to answer because there's so many great products available on the market. The Air 2S here and the Mavic 3 are both fantastic drones, and I love flying them. But I'm going to go with the Spark for this, and the reason being is the Spark was my very first DJI drone. Up until that point, I had been flying Parrot drones, the AR drone, the Bebop, and the Bebop 2, but the Spark was my very first DJI drone, and it really ignited a passion in me for drone flying. In fact, it took my channel in a whole new direction. Up until that point, I was primarily focused on GoPros and GoPro gear. Fast forward 4 to 5 years later, now probably 75% of my content is drone related. Now, by today's standards, the specs on the Spark are quite out of date, but it still is a very important drone to me. If I had to choose a second drone, it would definitely be the Air 2S. I think the Air 2S is just a fantastic drone, the perfect marriage of size, performance, and price. Thanks again, Mike, for having me on your channel. I look forward to what some of the other creators have to say as well.
I don't know about the best quad I've ever used, but if there was a quad that I would say left the biggest impact on me when I first got it, that would definitely be the Nazgul 5 HD. And first of all, that was like the first quad I got that came with DJI's digital system built into it, which was already huge. But the thing that left the biggest impact on me was that before that drone, I would complain and complain in every video that I made that there wasn't a single FPV company that was putting in even a little bit of effort into making their supposedly ready-to-fly drones even remotely easy to use for a beginner. And I would argue that it wasn't until iFlight released the Nazgul 5 HD, or the V2, whichever version you got, where they gave you comprehensive instructions in the box. They labeled the propellers so you know which way they spin. They put their own custom tune on it, their own custom rates on it. A lot of things came pre-set up and labeled for you, and it felt like the first real FPV drone that was made for the beginner hobbyist, and not just the advanced hobbyist that has a lot of experience in the back end. And I feel like iFlight didn't get enough credit for that.
Hi Mike and everyone who's watching your videos. Thanks a lot for inviting me to be part of this video. So talking about the drone that made me fall in love with drone photography, that must be the Mavic Pro one. Mainly because at that time there wasn't such an abundance of drones and choices, and it was the only go-to drone, and you knew that if you want to get a very compact drone that you could carry in your bag, go everywhere with it, that was the one. Not to mention the portrait mode and everything that was coming with it. For me, the durability, it used to have this cheap feel of like cheap plastic, but at the same time, funny stories, I crashed mine about 4 times, and every single time it was not more than $100 to get it fixed. And I think that's what made it that special for me, because I was never worried what's gonna happen to it. At the same time, I was carrying it everywhere with me, and that must be the one and only drone that just gonna stick in my memory with the tool that got me fired up with drone photography, and it has taken me where I am today.
Hi, Eddie from New York City, and my favorite drone of all times has to be the Mavic Pro Platinum. Now you may ask yourself, why the Mavic Pro Platinum, especially in 2022 when we have some amazing drones out there? Well, my favorite drone is the Mavic Pro Platinum because that is the drone that sparked my interest into the creative world, into the creative space. I started my YouTube channel. I started acquiring new friends, not only within New York, but across the world, such as Mike from Drone Supremacy. It is also the drone that made me buy my first camera and really start to dive into the science around, shutter speed, frames per second, white balance, being creative with your content. So the Mavic Pro Platinum by far is my favorite drone because that is the drone that opened up the doors for me for several opportunities here locally in New York, and also a lot of collaboration with various other drone pilots across the YouTube space. Also, you have to remember that when the Mavic Pro Platinum was released, there was not that many options out there. You had the DJI Phantom, you had the GoPro Karma, you also had the 3DR Solo. The Mavic Pro, or the Pro Platinum, was the first professional grade foldable drone that started it all for us in 2022, where we are today.
Thanks for asking. My name's Jake, if you don't know me, and I do lots of drone-related content in Alaska. And if you were to ask me what my favorite drone to film with is, it's definitely the Mavic 3 because it has great battery life, incredible power and speed, lots of range, and the camera is absolutely fantastic for a drone of this size. The telephoto camera is just a crazy cool tool to be able to film with. But my favorite drone to actually fly is this. This is my 7-inch FPV drone that I built, and I absolutely love this thing. Because it's 7-inch, it can handle a fair amount of wind, it can carry larger batteries, which means I can get like 7.5, 8 minutes of flight time, even when I'm pushing really a lot of speed and a lot of power to be able to keep up with things like airplanes or helicopters or whatever I might be filming that day. But this drone is my absolute favorite drone to fly because it is just fun, and it enables me to capture really cool, really dynamic, incredible shots. Thanks again. Cheers.
So I'm noticing two very interesting trends looking at the replies from these guys. And the first one is that many of them have picked the one drone that got them started into the hobby, the one that made them fall in love with flying. And to be honest, it goes the same way for me, but I'll get back to this in a second. The second trend that I noticed is that I told you guys to pick just one drone. You had to pick one, and many of you picked two, and some of you even picked three. So you broke the rules, and for that I think I will do the same. I will break the rules as well, because let's be honest, it's really hard to pick just one drone after having flown so many different ones and having so many different impressions. So for me, I will also break the rules, and I will also give you my two favorite drones that I've ever flown. So starting out first, it's not really a drone, it's more the experience of flying this drone. And that is the iFlight DC-5, the drone that got me started into FPV.
I don't know what to say. This has been nothing short of amazing. This is a whole new world.
By today's standards, the DC-5 is trash. It flew very, very badly. As a matter of fact, you can go back and watch my first ever flight with it, my first ever FPV flight that I uploaded on my channel. It was terrible. It had some problems with the gyro, so it was twitching like crazy, and it was really hard to do anything with this twitchiness inside my goggles. However, this is what laid the foundation of me falling in love with FPV, because it really comes down to being just pushing through the hardship and going hard and learning, even though it's really hard. Once you start, it's really hard to get the hang of it, but if you don't give up, it gets easier and easier every single time. And this drone made me fall in love with flying once again. I was getting a little bit tired, maybe burned out by flying camera drones, and this ignited my passion for flying once again. And the second best drone that I've ever flown has to be the DJI Mavic 3. It's just a drone that, in my opinion, encapsulates everything that a drone should be. It's compact, foldable, relatively small, so you can take it with you anywhere you go. It's a powerhouse, so powerful. It has a great D-lock color profile that enables you to really push your edit to the next level. It has 5K 50 frames per second. Even the slow motion is really good on this drone. And for me, it just means that if I take this drone, I know I can do something magical. It's just up to me to position the drone properly, to use the perspective and the light to my advantage, because I know I have the right tool to do everything the right way. And there you guys have it. This has been a big collaboration video that I had in my mind for a very long time. I'm super proud and super thankful to everyone joining this video. It's been an absolute pleasure to have all of these legends show some love, show some support to my channel by sending over their clips. I really want to urge you guys to follow each and every one creator who made this video possible. They really are amazing at what they're doing. I haven't picked them randomly. These are the people I look up to when it comes to flying a drone. And they are a massive inspiration to me, my channel, and everything I'm doing here on YouTube. So make sure you follow these guys. There will be links to their profiles down in the description. Go show them some love. Thank you so much for watching this very long video, but it has been a real pleasure for me. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.